and an audience that you can hear. So we're going to do a couple questions. We'll chat a little. We'll take some questions online. And then I think we have a few questions from the folks here. So we're just going to hang out. Cool. Chat about the tour.
Sounds good.
If you don't know, well, if you're watching this, you know that the bands are going on tour together. Deftones.com, RiseAgainst.com for ticket info. It's going to be pretty massive. Also, Thrice is opening.
Yeah,
Shout out to Thrice. Such a great band.
Yeah.
So let's start at the obvious. How did this tour come together? I think it's been in the making for a while.
Yeah, gentlemen.
Who wants to take credit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're excited.
I would say so. I don't know when we met you guys, but it was at least I don't know like 10 years ago maybe.
Long time ago.
Yeah, just playing shows and running into each other at festivals and that kind of thing. And I would say that the last sentence of every single time we hung out with you guys was, "We should tour together." That was kind of.
What's up? Hey.
Yeah. That was kind of what concluded every single interaction. I remember the guys, and there's been a few close calls where we almost did it, and just it's hard for bands like us to all align, and this time it just all kind of aligned. I don't know if that's.
I mean, it's important, we've both been at it a while, over the years, and it's just toured with a lot of great people, and it's about having fun. It's about having a nice, we're obviously spending summer together, and if you can pair people together and make it
Earlier, this is one of those shows that I'm going to come early and stay late. I want to see all three bands. This is and it all kind of strangely makes sense. I don't know. I feel like Deftones always had kind of like a punk rock attitude about everything, and I feel like Rise Against is a band that can get heavier, but still is like a punk rock hardcore band. So I don't know. Do you remember the first time you heard these guys?
Yeah, I was getting this tattoo, actually.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Deftones playing in a tattoo parlor.
It was Deftones playing in a tattoo parlor.
Yeah.
And it was, and so I was there for 4 hours. So and the guy was playing Deftones over and over and over, and it was it was the first time I'd really I'd heard some stuff here and there, but it was the first time I'd really was really.
You couldn't leave. You were.
I was trapped.
Yeah, you were trapped.
I was make it stop. No, but it was interesting because it's if you've gotten a tattoo, it's one of those sort of moments in your life where you're kind of you're forced to kind of just sit there and your brain turns off and you're just sort of digesting or consuming whatever is around you. And the more I heard it, the more I loved it. And I remember getting back into the van.
Yeah.
And I was on a Deftones kick, and I was like, "You guys got to hear this! We got to listen to this!" And then I basically put them in the tattoo parlor, and that was kind of I just kind of turned the page, and I was like, "This is cool shit. This is a cool band." And there's so much more to the Deftones, I think, than anybody at least had ever explained to me at that point. There were levels to it. There was different layers of it, and I got that listening to that, and then I was able to just finally explore it more, and I've been a fan ever since.
It's awesome. Do you remember seeing them or hearing
Yeah,
them
I remember hearing. I mean, the radio loves these guys.
Yeah.
So, it's hard to not to avoid it. It's I heard it and I was like, well, but when I saw them live, that was what got me. I was just these dudes, they deliver live. It's very powerful. Sounds like the records, if not better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They project. Their sound is very projective, and then I met them obviously, and they're very down to earth, very nice
Let's
guys.
kick it.
Yeah, hung out on just talking about music and that kind of stuff. I can sit and talk about music with people. Once people engage the music conversation, I'm connected right there. It's boom.
You're in at that point.
And so these guys, grew up obviously liking a lot of the same music and talking about music and having those conversations. But what I thought was cool when this tour idea came up is the fact that, although we do have some similarities in our sounds, it's they come from very different places as well.
Yeah.
And but I feel like they complement each other very well, And I feel like sometimes when you do tours, that makes a tour a little more interesting at times too. You go there and you get, Also, I think a lot of our fans and probably their fans as well, that have probably heard of them but never really seen them live, or they're their fans who have heard of us but maybe never seen us. It's there's an opportunity to play for each other's fans and hopefully make new fans,
Yeah. Do you guys think about that? It's kind of a co-headlining tour. Are you, if it was your own tour, maybe you're going deeper in the vault on some things. Do you think about, oh, Rise Against fans might know this record, or is it just kind of like
Not
we're going
necessarily. I mean, I don't
thing?
think for us, no, not really.
Yeah.
We're very much like we write the set list a lot of times, like sometimes like an hour or a half hour before we play. Sometimes,
Yeah.
right?
5 minutes.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I feel pretty comfortable with just like I feel like we can kind of just do what we do and do us. We hope to play a lot of new music. Also, another thing too, I know it's kind of been a gripe from a lot of fans, but sometimes we get predictions because we don't rehearse that much. I'll just be honest. So like
you rehearse on the road.
Yeah. So like
We don't know what that's like.
yeah. So we have some songs that we know, like no matter what, we can play them decent. You know what I mean? We can play them well.
Or well. Yeah.
But
Or well, yeah. Credit where
Yeah.
credit's due.
but this time we do have a bit of rehearsal sort of lined up. So we're going to actually work on songs that we haven't played in a long time and some songs that we have never played. So and then also new stuff too. I know people are probably. I'm happy because I like to play different stuff too.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's good when we play it.
Now
So
we got to rehearse.
I know.
Yeah, thanks a lot, dude. Pressure's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same kind of thought process when you're making a set list for a tour like this, or are you changing every day? Is it just kind of
It's funny. I was thinking about when you asked that question. In our early days, I remember we were like kind of a misfit band that didn't really fit in a lot of places. So we'd be opening up for Agnostic Front on one tour, then opening up for a ska band the next tour. You know what I mean? And then getting thrown into like a radio festival or something like that. And back in the day, I remember we would think about it. We'd be like, "Man, we're playing a ska show. Like, how do we reach those fans? Or we're playing with Agnostic Front, like Skinheads. How are we gonna reach those fans?
Play
You
even
know?
faster.
Yeah, and
You just go do it. I think. Yeah. You just
Well,
go do it.
At the end of the day,
at the end of the day, we're just like, it factored in back then, but then we're like, we just need to go play. Plus, I think that you got to give music fans credit, especially ones that come to Deftones shows and Rise Against shows. People are into all kinds of different music. They don't want to hear your set catered to like the headlining band or the opening band or whatever. They came here to hear everything.
With open ears too.
They're gonna love
Yeah.
Thrice. They're gonna love Deftones. They're gonna love Rise Against. Like we all listen to all these bands. When we get off stage, we put on our radios. We listen to different music too, and so it's like people they want to hear bands complementing each other. I think this tour, in a lot of ways, shows you how diverse rock is.
Yeah.
Like rock is kind of lumped in this category, right? Where it's like we're not pop or we're not EDM, so we're just rock. But it's like when what Thrice does and what Deftones do and what we do, like it's way different, and like fans appreciate that. And I think that I see kids in our front row wearing Deftones T-shirts. Always have. So these are people who are, you give the music fan credit that people are into all kinds of music.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, yeah, shout out to Thrice. Thanks for being a band again. That's nice.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. They seem like a perfect, I was saying this earlier too, like they'll get super heavy at times, but they're like a SoCal punk rock band, so they have that like in their core. How did they get added to the
It's kind of a
I think it's
no-brainer.
Yeah, it was like
And kind of like the timing was perfect too. Like you said, they've been away for a while, and we toured together with them years ago, twice actually. Once on a tour of our own, and then Taste of Chaos later. There was a kind of thing, but they are, like you said, they've evolved into this really cool. They have their roots too, but their later records were got to be they were deep and they're sick. They're rad records to hear. They're cool guys, man, and of course there's some twins in the band.
so that's always nice.
No, but it's just one of those things. I think the timing was perfect, like you said. Timing was perfect. They have a new record out, and shit, here we are. So, but it should be good, man. Nice, well-rounded bunch of dudes.
Yeah, they are.
A lot of dudes.
And it was cool. It was just like there were guys that you guys know and we've known for a long time too. It was I remember when that came up. I think everyone was kind of like just greenlit it immediately. Like this is a great idea.
Yeah, it's perfect. Tour starts in Chicago. How's that feel? Is that ideal, or is that you just roll out of bed and drive to the venue?
I think it adds
It always
a little
sounds like
pressure.
it always sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, totally.
And I think anybody in a band can tell you like a hometown show is, it can be stressful, but I think it'll be fun. It'll be a cool way to kick it off, and just like get that show like happening. the venue there, I know you guys have played it too, is incredible. It looks out over Lake Michigan. The skyline's right behind you. It's outdoors in the summertime in Chicago, which is like the only time Chicago is kind of inhabitable.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be a cool epic night.
Yeah, it's great. Do you notice as you're going across the country, are there changes in the shows? Do you feel a different energy from a Boston show to by the time you get back to the West Coast for Phoenix or San Diego or some of these, like, I'm from San Diego and I always felt like San Diego was like a second Deftones home. I think first time I saw you guys was like in '94 or something down
Old
there.
summers and
Yeah, exactly. Like 3 summers ago.
Yeah.
That's way too inside, but whatever. Do you notice a difference in like the energy of the crowds? in those
Certain
different
cities have certain things, but I mean, you know, our fans are pretty versatile themselves. You know, in any one city. You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You never look out there and see one type of person. It's like you see a lot of different people, age groups, everything. So,
Yeah.
boys and girls, men and women.
It's awesome.
So I don't know. I mean, I'd say it's, you know, I mean, obviously you see different. I mean, you know, the guest list is different in every city. You know what I mean? You know, you're going to see certain people, whatever. But yeah, we're pretty lucky. We have great fans that are pretty cool, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, speaking of the fans, transition. You're welcome. We have some questions from folks online, and then I think we're going to do a couple questions here in the room too. We should just start with Deftones Diana. Deftones Diana, Rock in Rio, Vegas 2015. If you guys remember that, Tim came on stage, did Passenger.
That's right.
That's right.
So Deftones Diana with 3 very big heart emojis, and #epic wants to know if that's going to happen on this tour, especially in Austin. Evidently, that's where she's from. Will there be some collaborations?
Sounds like a request to me.
That's an
You
early
gotta show up and
request.
find out.
probably every single night,
Yeah.
or maybe not.
Or
Yeah.
not.
I'm just gonna come sing that part over every song.
So Tim's back again.
And during our set.
Yeah, get the wrong cue. Yeah, and during our set too. Yeah, it's like whack-a-mole, Tim. Just-
Yeah. Just
Damn,
like,
Tim.
yeah, we get it, dude.
Yeah.
Renee Elizabeth. This is a pretty cool question. Practical venue options aside, if you could play anywhere in the world, where would it be? Didn't you just play in a volcano or something?
Yeah, it wasn't like a real show. It was just me playing
Right.
acoustic guitar.
So if you guys
Which
could
that
do
was the
sh-
scariest part of the whole thing, because I've never performed by myself really. Like, it's just I'm very uncomfortable without these guys like making
Sure.
Hey, buddy.
the music behind me.
Little
So that
support
was
system.
mostly scared about that, just like, you know, and but the volcano experience was pretty neat. I mean, just like going that deep into the earth, and it was, yeah. But the scariest part was like the silence of everybody like sitting there waiting for me to entertain them
Yeah.
with just a guitar. So, and when nothing was mic'd up, so it was like just the actual ambience of the room.
It's pretty cool, though.
Yeah,
That's a cool.
it was a neat
special part.
experience,
Yeah.
definitely.
It speaks to how nerve-wracking playing acoustic by yourself is too, when you're comparing it to an active volcano.
Yeah,
It's basically.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's like.
No volcano shows planned, I'm guessing. But
Well,
if you
now
could
that I
play
found out about this place.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll
anywhere
know
in the
more.
world you'd like to go and pop up and do a show.
Oh. And the question was practical venues aside.
Well, yeah, like,
you
you
could
know.
literally like play almost
Yeah.
anywhere. I don't know, the roof of this building. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
All right. Yeah.
All right, we'll
Probably
do that
in
after.
like 10
Okay.
minutes.
We
In
got
10 minutes
we got
we'll
some
do that.
people here.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Upstairs.
That was not true at all. It's definitely not happening.
Yeah.
Power to the people, make it happen.
This is from Urban Journal, which I think is this is a really cool. It sounds like an organization out of St. Paul, Minnesota. But can you speak a bit to kind of what inspires you, how you write? It sounds like they're longtime fans. They talk about songs in classes. It sounds like. So yeah, can you talk just about the writing process and no spoilers, but I believe there might be new music on the horizon from you guys. So.
Yeah, we are working on new music, so we're hoping to have that out real soon for people that we're pretty excited about. It's been an interesting year to be an American, to be playing a punk rock band too, to be writing songs about that too, so people can definitely expect that. And then your question was the writing
Just
process.
the process, like the inspiration.
It's really, the process is probably the same as it was when we were like 16 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's a guitar, a bass on the end of your bed playing,
Yeah.
like just sort of distilling the world around you and whatever you are caring about at that moment, and just kind of putting pen to paper, and that's kind of how it still happens. And I think that for musicians and bands and lyricists, like, your world is more complex than just the personal or the political. You know what I mean?
Right.
It really is whatever is most urgent at that moment. You know, when you're playing an instrument or whatever. And so that process is still the same. Like, I think when you're a kid, and especially when you're younger, like, perhaps America's foreign policy is the most important thing to you at that moment.
Sure.
But then your girlfriend breaks up with you.
Right.
And that's the most important thing to you at that
Yeah.
moment. You know what I mean? So that's the human condition. We're all like, it's complex. And so I guess, like, not that there's not a goal to a Rise Against song or a record or anything, but, like, if the songs and the records can reflect, like, how complex we are as people, and still talk about, like, the world around us. You know what I mean? Still talk about what I know that our fans crave to hear about, you know, how we're processing what's happening, then that's what we try to accomplish, you know, and that's kind of, and then the band kind of built around that.
Yeah. Gore was almost a year ago now, huh?
Hmm.
Do you remember
It's over a year.
Yeah, the writing process of that, where your head
I
was
was
at?
in a year before that when we started that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it takes that long? Is it about a year before you?
It takes us that long.
Yeah.
But not because we work really through the year. I mean, like, we work very leisurely, like, at our leisure. Like, another thing too is, like, we all live we're not like the 16-year-old kids who all lived in the same neighborhood, like, that went into Stefan's garage and,
Yeah.
you know, rode our skateboards over there and just started making music. We all have families and live apart from each other. So we actually have to plan it very well for us to, you know, Sergio has to come from New York. I got to come from Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to come, him and Frank come from Sacramento. Stefan lives here. But we usually work here. And we have to plan it out. So then we come in for these little, like, you know, 10 days sometimes, like, little just writing sessions. And usually it's like no one comes in with any, like, preconceived ideas.
You're not coming in with rough demos.
Not really,
like,
no.
yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of, I think, what keeps it fun, because it's like we all get in a room together, we lock the door, and then we just start reacting to each other. Like, someone starts making some noise, and then the other guy just starts doing something to that noise, and then we start building a song out of nothing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did when we were young. But we just can't do that all the time. So we kind of take our time, you know, and so we can have an equal balance or somewhat of a home life and being in a room with 40-year-old guys, like, you know, for like, because we do like I think it's kind of cool. We do like noon to usually 6, so it's like the closest thing that we've ever had to having a normal job. You know, you go into work at a certain time and you kind of lock the door behind you and you leave, you know, 6 hours later or whatever, and hopefully you walk out of there with something, you know, from nothing. And a lot of times, what inspires that is each other. You know what I mean? Exactly, kind of like where we are at our times in life. I mean, I always like to think of our records and even our songs as like sort of a snapshot of like where we were that day or that month or that week, whatever, in our lives. And usually, in retrospect, you listen to it, you know, months or years later, and you kind of can remember that time. You can smell, you hear the song, and you smell that moment of what it was like to be. With, you know, it usually smells like weed.
to keep it 100.
But yeah, I mean that's what it is. I mean,
Sure.
it's fun. It's still fun.
I mean, that's as long as it's still fun. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
We have questions here, I believe. So yeah, let's do a couple of questions from folks here. What's your name? Where are you from? I guess we're all from probably LA in this room, but
so my name is Nancy, and I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. Big fan for a very, very long time. I live here in LA, but I'm originally from Fresno, California. My question is, and hearing your guys' stories, you know, on how you put your music together, realizing that you both have 10 plus 15 years in, you know, doing music. So what are your thoughts? What are your feelings now looking back to where you are now and how you've grown as a band? So just kind of where are you feeling at now? And thank you.
good question.
Nancy's my mom's name too, by the way. So
Points.
she's all right. So I mean, it's pretty interesting. I mean, we're a band that started like in 1988, I guess, and it's no longer 1988. It's I mean, shit, it's 2017. But I mean, you know, it doesn't seem like at all that it's been that long, you know, and it's gone quick, and it's there's definitely, it's like proverbial roller coaster ride that people that had been doing this before us said, hey man, you kind of hop on, and you never know, it's got all these ups and downs, and that's part of living life though too. But to put it, I'd look around and I still love this dude. We're brothers, man, and we laugh, and the rest of the dudes in the band. So just being, it doesn't seem like it's been that long. We just kind of it's what we do though too, and it's not much thought about it. It's just kind of what we do. Mm-hmm. I like you, man. You're all right.
I like you too.
Hey, buddy. My buddy.
What a sweet moment.
My buddy.
That's a 1988 reference right there. Cool. Should we do another question? Great. What's your name?
My name's Steve.
Steve.
I am from Boston, but I've been living in LA 13 years, and thank you guys for doing this. My question is, how do you define failure, and what do you do to cope with it, avoid it, or combat it? Thank you. Great.
Failures was a great band.
Still are.
We've all, all jokes aside, we've failed a lot in our journey. It's like we've had so many ups and downs, and they're all been learning experiences. Obviously, it's hard to regret like a lot of the stuff that we went through because it's like it's cliche, but if we hadn't gone, failed and gone through that stuff, whatever, we'd be sitting in these chairs right now, talking about this tour or whatever. So, how do you combat it? I don't know. I think you just kind of accept it. You know what I mean, and try to overcome it, whatever.
I may have failed to answer your question.
I may have, I think I just failed.
No, but your question.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you put it really well. Like, I think about our band, we started probably similar to you guys. We were a small band, and we grew slowly, and eventually we became a bigger band and had more fans and more people who knew who we were. And I look back in our very early years, and I think I'm so glad the spotlight didn't find us right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, we're
You know what I mean?
in that same way. We're very lucky that,
Yeah.
that YouTube was not around.
Right. Right. Or even
Cell
I think
phones,
about
all that.
I think about the pressure on these young bands today.
Yeah.
Who are their first shows documented. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on their first record, their first year of a band, or a band that gets popular immediately because of a song, and it's like they're expected to, have years of experience and be able to handle the crowds and the live and the touring and all that stuff.
And we were allowed to actually be able to grow and learn as we went without, and that's a really special thing too.
Totally. We did what we did.
At our own pace.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
We did what we did out of like that harsh spotlight, where by the time it found us, I feel like we were ready for it.
Yeah.
And by the time it found us, we had chalked up a lot of failures.
Oh, yeah.
And everything from like messing up a show that night to a song you didn't love to, just all the little things about being in a band, and so those failures are important because by the time, we were ready for that stage, we'd already learned a lot.
Yeah.
Should we do another one? Do you have a question? Awesome.
Angel.
Angel's known.
What's up, fellas?
Angel's
My
known
name's
in
Angel
this
from the San Fernando Valley. This question is specifically for Chino. Do blondes really have more fun?
Obviously not, because I'm back to my original.
Yeah. And
That's a
hey,
good one,
what are you guys listening to right now? Like music?
Oh man, I got asked that question about an hour ago, and I failed to answer it. I was looking on my phone to see like what whatever. But
My mom.
Nancy.
Nancy, solo.
Yeah, I'm kind of in one of those things where I just it's always on random and silence. I said, I'm listening to a lot of silence.
Yeah.
Not the band. just silence.
Anything you guys are listening to?
I just discovered a band called Single Mothers. They're from Canada. Really good.
Yeah.
That's kind of it for me.
Yeah, Joe's always turning me on to new stuff, so I rely on him. I like a lot of the female-fronted bands like White Lung and Warm Women right now, which I think is just powerful stuff that, it's really cool to see that happening.
Yeah. Cool. Another question? Yes. Awesome.
Hi.
hi.
Who or what was the first band or musician to blow your mind live or on record?
For me, Bad Brains.
Yeah.
Like I was 13-year-old kid, and I was scared hiding in the back of the room, the Vic Theater in Chicago, and they came on stage and just blew me away. I mean, that's why I'm here. I just wanted to relive that and, you know, just relive that energy that they brought to the stage. So I was lucky enough to see it when they were, you know, still really great.
Word.
Tim, do you remember a first band that?
Life-changing show probably was Fugazi in Chicago at a roller rink, the Rainbow Roller Rink.
So good.
Awesome. Rest in peace, no longer there. But that was, just watching them kind of, I don't know, it just changed my life, I'd say.
What great shows too, huh?
Yeah, just incredible. Yeah, they redefined what a show was. You know, you're watching a band with no set list kind of organically flow through these songs and just they go to a different place, and you know, and they would have shows in unorthodox venues like a roller rink, you know, because they wanted
One light, like one white light kind of thing.
Totally.
Like
they wanted
no production.
Totally, no production. They wanted to control who sold the tickets. It was always a $5 ticket, printed on like a piece of cardboard that somebody like silk screened. You know, you had to go to one store to get it.
One time, and Steph and I got to help load in.
Oh, really?
The promoters.
That's
and
awesome.
we got like I was carrying like Ian's SG, you know, that old that old case, and then his head. And I was like, and I got to sit at Brendan's drums. I'm like, oh shit. He came in later and put the bell up and shit. It was like,
you did that?
Yeah, man.
That's incredible.
It was just one of those. It's like, hey man, you guys, because we were trying to get shows in town. We knew the promoters and stuff, and you know, we're like these little kids kind of hanging around. Hey, why don't you help bring some of their shit in? So,
That's
pretty amazing though.
That is amazing. That's rad.
Gina, do you remember the first kind of mind-blowing?
Man, that's hard. Probably listening to Casey and the Sunshine Band when I was like, 4 years old or something. And that's like the earliest music memories I have is like disco music, seriously. I'm that old. Yes.
Like that.
No, I used to straight up dance to that. I used to get down to that. But I was just a little chinito though. But like when I started to come of age and like really like my own music, the first concert I went to, and I was probably pretty old for my first concert, but it was Depeche Mode Violator tour, and I was 16 maybe. Yeah. So that was pretty old for to go as my first concert, but it was like the biggest thing in the world to see. You know what I mean? And they're still probably one of my favorite bands, but to see to be right in the front and just like see the massive production and just the performance and those songs just like coming out of the speakers were just like I was like that's what I want to do the rest of my life is just have something to do with music or whatever because it was very powerful.
That's awesome.
But also like what Joe said, Bad Brains, like I never saw them live back then obviously, but just watching videos, like there's something that's just like insanely just like raw in the energy, and that is what inspired me to want to be a front man at least, and figure out how to sing because I wanted to do what he did, or try.
Awesome. Do we have one more? Is there another? Oh, great. We'll do the last one.
Hi, my name is Nancy, or Star too.
Right.
My first Deftones show was 21 years ago, and after all these shows, I'm wondering, is your motivation or your fuel behind your performances different now than it was before?
For me, it's the same. Yeah. I just stepping on and sitting down, just being very disrespectful to my drums. But just smacking the shit out of the drums and go. But there's something that's still, going back to what I said earlier, there's been ups and all this stuff, but there's something about just, we don't really have any ritual. We get together for a minute and but there's something about, when you're about to hit it and then.
Honestly, my fuel is always the music that, that these guys are blaring out behind me. It's like, it's fuel to just like go with it, you know what I mean? And that's always what it is. So I was like talking about that thing the other day, the volcano thing was just like being so unnatural because it's like, I'm supposed to generate this kind of energy. Like that's not what I do. You know what I mean? I react. I'm a very reactionary person. When I hear something and I'm drawn to it, and then I like to react to that kind of stuff. So the music has always been the fuel. And no matter how I feel like on whatever day it may be, maybe it's not such a good day or whatever, it's usually like the minute we start playing, the first 30, 45 seconds, it's like everything is just like, you're just in it,
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got two more questions coming in. From One Shot Robot, Chino, have you had to change your scream technique over the years? Abe, how are you such a badass?
That was from me.
Yeah.
Was that you? That was you.
I'm just trying to figure it out. I don't know, man.
No, I mean, I honestly feel like I'm still always figuring things out. I've never taken any vocal lessons or anything. I pretty much just figured out how to sing just from singing along with records and singing along to them, the music they played. So it's kind of an orthodox way of doing it, screaming or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning, I guess, whatever. But like, I don't feel like I really think about it too much. Like, I don't try to plan different ways to do things. Kind of just, I've adapted what I've done over time. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it still changes a little bit here and there, whatever. Hopefully not for the worse, but yeah, it's very reactionary as well.
Cool. And Joey Basarab, will you guys be playing State of the Union this tour regarding the past presidential election? Also, just so you guys know, I'll be attending 11 shows this tour starting in Chicago.
So I can't-
Shout out to Joey.
Yeah.
So you got 11 chances.
So I can't. So you're saying I can't lie to him?
No.
Well, we
figure
can
it
submit
out.
the paperwork and
Yeah.
see what happens
Yeah.
from corporate.
It is, and he brings up a good point too. It's like validating and depressing how relevant a song you wrote in 2006 during an entirely different administration can all of a sudden sort of become relevant again. You know, it lets you know, that we live in a changing place, that demands people battle what confronts you. You know, so. But yeah, he hits a nail on the head. It's an important song, one that could be timely.
Any advice? What do we do? How do we stay positive right now?
I think it's a giant opportunity. To be honest, I think it's not only do I look at it as like a lot of what's happening in the country today, sort of like selfishly like validates what we've been thinking about for a long time. It's like these are things that we've always needed to watch out for. There are things that are not lost in the wake of history, but they are things that are always looking for opportunities to rear their ugly head the second you drop down your guard. You know, and so that's what we've kind of been talking about. And so there's an opportunity to learn here. There's an opportunity to see a divided country and to try to recognize the forces that divide us and what their goals are in dividing us, and how a lot of us are the same people, but we allow these kind of fissures to get in between us. And so, to be honest, I'm more excited about it than depressed about it because I see people waking up.
Yeah.
You know, which is all that we've really tried to do for years
talking about for a
and
while.
talked about for a while. So it's like to actually see that process of awakening is actually a beautiful thing.
I like that. I feel like that's a good place to wrap up. We feel good? Everyone
Yeah,
feel
man.
good? Deftones.com, riseagainst.com. Thanks to Live Nation. Thanks to Capitol Studios. Thanks to Thrice for joining this epic tour. I think it's going to be a pretty
Thanks
good
to you
summer.
guys.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you to you. Yeah.